we're going to be looking at the patch notes for patch 12.9. And I'm going to try to be very professional and look at the camera and actually engage with the audience. In this patch as well, the challenges system is coming out. Challenges track your overall progress with league across a ton of categories. So essentially, this is the accomplishments thing for players who, how do I say, the accomplishment for players who don't play ranked, right? So it makes it so that you have something to work toward. I'm also going to swap over to this screen? Yes, this screen, so that there's no chat on the screen so people can, you know, see the stuff. But yeah, challenges are essentially just going to be little things to work toward for flair for your profile, not necessarily for ranked, although I'm like 100% sure there's going to be things tied into amount of ranked games played, amount of time played, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, now onto the champions. We have Olaf. His midscope update is here. Now, Olaf has been in a rough spot ever since the nerfs to certain bruiser items, obviously. And as a champion, being very linear, like, there's nothing wrong with being a linear champ. He's just suffered heavily with all the releases of all the champions with dashes constantly, and champions with more like getaway potential, right? So there's not much he can do against all these newer scope champions. So they're adding just some quality of life things to him. His base stats, his AD growth is going from 3.5 per level to 4.7. His AD at level 18 used to be 127.5, is now 148. His health growth was 100 and is now 105. And his mana growth used to be 42 and now it's 50. And I presume these last two are per level. His passive. Okay, so he used to have the lower HP he is, the more attack speed he got, and he used to be like a stat stick, right? But now it scales with level to give some form of counterplay to him, as well as his new part of it. Berserker's Rage now provides 10 to 30% lifesteal depending on level based on his missing HP. So he can't just 1v1 you immediately level 1 like he used to. And they updated it so that the bonuses max out at 0% health. It now maxes out at 30% health. So you can't, so it doesn't get to insane levels when you're at like 10% HP and you're healing like 500 in auto, right? I mean, they'll probably get there, but it won't be like now, you know? Olaf Q Undertow, it used to be 7 seconds, now it is 9 seconds. His damage for base of it is... Okay, so it's a little bit higher level 1. That's a lie. His damage is lower early on, but it is exactly the same at the max rank. The mana cost, however, used to be 60 at all ranks, now scales from 40 to 60. So the earlier ranks, you can throw a couple more. His Pro Axe Jungler, picking up axes now fully refunds Q Undertow's cooldown, but axes can only be thrown at a maximum of once every 3 seconds. So, okay, so note that the 3-second limit scales with ability haste. Okay, so you can't just Q and Q and Q and Q anymore. You have to, there's that little leeway of counterplay, but that part of it also scales with ability haste, so you can lower that as the game goes on, as well as coming through. Included a quality of life buff to Olaf's Q Undertow that it now grants ghosting more consistently to jungle monsters who he hits or are near him when Q is cast. So you can walk past them and better pathfind, I believe. His W, Tough It Out. It's changed from Vicious Strikes to Tough It Out. They just changed the name straight up. The cooldown used to be 16 seconds at all times and now lowers down to 10 seconds at max rank. As well as the attack speed getting a little bit of a nerf, 10% at all ranks. However, the ability duration is also down by 2 seconds. But now, W now resets Olaf's basic attack timer. So I assume you can auto then W for another auto immediately. And again, new tough here. On activation, Olaf now gains 10 to 150 plus 25% missing health, capped at 30% of his current HP shield for 2.5 seconds. So when you pop W now, you are going to get that shield. I believe it's immediate and not like going with the amount of attacks you do. So it's not like overheal as like a rune, right? It's just straight up a shield immediately. They remove they removed the lifesteal from it, and it no longer amplifies his healing on missing health. They moved all of that to his passive. R. I was expecting an E change, but there's no E change. His R Ragnarok now, it scales better. There's 5 damage increased at the last stage, and it used to be 30% in AD, but now it's 5% less AD. The duration is halved, and the passive resists has gone down at the early stages, but remains the same at the max rank. And they removed R's Ragnarok passive bonus. Resistances are no longer lost for the duration of the ability. So you're no longer squishier during your R. However, if you keep hitting a champion with an auto attack or your E, which is the slam down with true damage, it extends the duration of your R, so you can theoretically keep your R up during an entire team fight. The new champ Caps play today is called Anivia. It looks like a fucking does it? Overall, I think this is going to be very good for Olaf. He's going to make a very valid opponent for a champion, say like Aatrox, right? Aatrox relies very heavily on out-sustaining you. And I think with Olaf's R changing the way it is now and not making you squishier, nor making you... it makes you impervious to CC while you're ulting, right? That means you can theoretically 1v1 Aatrox a lot, like, not longer, but a lot easier, because he can't knock you up constantly, which is what he relies on, and to CC you to death and drain tank and then kill you, right? So overall, I think this is going to make Talia a bit oppressive for mid lane in the later game, but not necessarily in the early game. It's going to make her a lot weaker in the early game and give her some counterplay. But if she gets fed, she's gonna roll through your team. Very much so. Onto Ahri. Ahri's E cooldown has been increased and R cooldown increased at all ranks. She's been a bit oppressive since her little mini rework thing. Her charm cooldown is going up by 2 seconds, not too bad. But her Spirit Rush, now it's gone up 10 seconds at every rank. Every rank. So it's no longer 130 to 80, it's now 140 to 90 based on rank. Overall, I think this is a nice little tweak. It's nothing too harmful to the champion and gives people a little bit more chance to counterplay, you know? Brom. Brom is getting a little bit of a cooldown. His passive's cooldown decreased and E damage reduction increased as well. So his passive now goes from 8 seconds to 4 seconds, down from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. So when he's level 16, I think it's 4 seconds. And his E damage reduction scales better. So now it's from... It used to be 30 to 40%. Now it's 35 to 55. So it incentivizes him to max it second for his team. Decent buff. Nothing too crazy. I think the E damage reduction is going to be very important for him. So we'll see how it goes. Hecarim. Q80 scaling increased. W cooldown decreased. This I don't like, I think. So they added 5% bonus AD damage to his Q, but they didn't lower the base damage. So essentially, they've made Hecarim stronger, and they're trying to incentivize him to build more AD, but they're not going to. They only need one AD item to one-shot an AD carry, and then they just build full tank. Same as always. And then his W cooldown is down 4 seconds, from 18 to 14. This I'm okay with, but I don't think... even Hecarim one-tracks are confused by this change, because this is not the way to change him to make him better. He's still going to one-shot 80 carries building 80% tank. He needs 1 damage item, like Manamune, and then he builds full tank, and you're dead. He doesn't need a Sheen. He doesn't need any form of, like, actual damage. He just builds Chem Tank, he builds Manamune, and Deadman's, and he can one-shot an 80 carry up until level 11. And after that, he just builds Death Stance, and he'll still kill them anyways. Simple as that. Still going to be an issue. Not sure how this is going to pan out. Master Yi Highlander. Our bonus attack speed has been reduced. It used to be 25 to 65. Now it's 25 to 45. He's been very, very strong for a while. And that bonus attack speed on his R has essentially given him free reign to use his lethality build more. It's still being used more often than the attack speed build, seeing as it's really hard to fight somebody you can't see, right? And then on top of that, you can't even target Master Yi when he is in alpha or when he's hidden by Duskblade, you know? But we'll see. This is okay, but I don't think this is the issue with it. Nidalee, base health reduced. It used to be 570, now it's 540. That's a really big nerf to the early game. It's going to encourage more people to invade her. It's going to make her clears a little bit harder, but again, they buffed her healing a little bit ago, so it's not like it's the worst thing in the world. She still has that little bit of extra healing as well. Pike. These Pike changes kind of make me sad, but we'll see. Passive, Gift of the Drowned Ones. Damage, his gray health damage. Wait. Okay, so when Pike is next to 2 or more enemies, it used to be 40% plus 0.5% per lethality. It's now 45%. So it's a 5% buff to the more health he gets back from his gray health when he's next to enemies and he's invisible. Not really going to do much for him. It's not going to incentivize him to be played more in support role. He's still going to be played more so in mid with just this change. The interesting one here is Bone Skewer. So instead of giving Pike his AoE on Q back, they've essentially done some weird shit like an anti-Q. The fucking Bone App, Jesus Christ. Bone Skewer now refunds mana upon hitting an enemy champion. So it incentivizes you to hit Q more on a champion rather than the minion wave. The mana cost used to be 50 to 70. Now it's 74 to 90. That's insane. But the mana refund is 75%. So you get 75% of the mana back if you hit an enemy champion. So it's an okay change. But again, it's not going to really bring him back into support as a role. It's really nothing because of these R changes here. Okay. This is all nice. This is a fine thing to do, but it's not going to get him to be played in support. There's no point in playing Pike in the support role, especially after these R changes, because Pike's whole gimmick was the execute and getting gold and giving gold to your team, right? Our cooldown now is lower early game. Actually, at all ranks. It's lower at all ranks, except this. Lighter pockets. Pike no longer receives your cut gold upon successfully executing enemy champions with this R. They've effectively removed his gold. Okay? And now, Bogo Zenogo. Pike no longer receives additional your cut gold when allies kill enemies. So, even if you get that R execute, right? And like a fraction of a second beforehand, your ally kills the person. Now you don't get the gold. And your ally gets the gold still. They've effectively cut Pike's gold generation for himself. And they're trying to slow down the pace of the game for when he gets fed. But the main issue with that is, why are you going to play Pike in the support role when you're still not going to get any gold? You remove the gold, you remove the role. You see the issue here? There's no reason to play Pike for that execute when you can play something like Leona who's never going to die and just perma-stun everybody. Now you're going to be squishy. You're going to have a pull, that's fine. An E, that's fine. But your execute is not going to be doing anything really for you. If you get the kill, you get the kill, yeah. But you're not going to get additional gold to keep that snowball rolling. And yes, I understand it's to balance it a little bit more and keep it more easy to handle. But the main issue right now is that Pike does not fit the support role because you keep removing parts of his kit that work for support. But because they work for mid lane as well, and you constantly nerf it, it just means that support is not going to be played. Because why are you going to play a gutted champion in support when you can play something like a Giga Tank that's never going to die and does more damage than Pike anyways? hit my microphone, Lamau. There's no reason to play Pike after this. Because this change removes any advantage Pike has. Pike can get his health regen, that's fine. And you have to weave in and out, and I understand that. That's an assassin playstyle, it's quite normal. But almost every other support, if your support has a heal or is a tank, Pike just loses. So the only supports that Pike counters now is Xerath, Vel'Koz, or like he doesn't counter Lulu. He doesn't counter Janna. They have perma disengages. Lulu has polymorph. Janna has her R and her Q actually. The shields mean nothing anymore because there's anti-shielding item. What's it called? Serpent's Fang. What's the point in playing Pike after this? There's no point. Obviously, some people are going to be very happy that the champion is gutted. They're tiring of seeing him in their games. That's all fair. If you hate Pike, that's fair. But this change effectively kills the champion for the most part because you can't rely on his damage per bot lane. The way they've changed him over time, he's fucked. He's gone. There's no reason to play him. Why would you do Pike when you could play Senna and infinitely scale? But we're gonna move on and still complaining about the drowned murderer psychopath. Renata Glask. She has been a little bit strong, and by a little bit I mean quite strong, especially with the overloaded part of her W for no reason that is in there. They're lowering her base armor by 2. A little bit easier to kill early. Her passive now, it used to be 1 to 3.5% based on levels 1 to 13, plus 1% per 100 AP. Now it's 1 to 2% levels 1 to 9. So her passive stops scaling after level 9, and it's plus 2% per 100 AP. So it incentivizes you to build more AP rather than just pure support. And the damage against unmarked champions apparently is unchanged. So there's a little bit extra bonus damage when she hits you initially. Now to the very chonky Mr. Alligator in the top lane. Renekton was gutted 6 times in a row, I think, last year, especially due to the items and whatnot. He was just too oppressive for top lane in pro play, so they just gutted him repeatedly and repeatedly until he was barely a champion anymore. And it's really hard to play him even now, especially since most champions outscale him so fast. There's no real identity for an early game champion anymore. Why would you play something like Renekton top when you can play something that scales a lot better and a lot faster? I don't know. But for Renekton, his health growth used to be 92, is now up to 97, up by 5. His AD growth used to be 3.75, now it's 4.15. And his AD at level 18 used to be 132.75, is now 139. So not too much of a buff there. A little bit extra in the later game, but again, keeping it a bit toned down in the early game because he's already an early game oppressive champion. His W changes. His W cooldown used to be 13 to 9. It is now 16 to 8. So they're upping it at early ranks to give him a bit more counterplay early. The total physical damage used to be 10 to 90 plus 75% of your AD is now 10 to 130 plus 75% of your AD. So it's a little bit more damage in the late game if you max it. All fine and dandy. It helps him scale a little bit easier. That's fine. Total physical damage when empowered used to be 15 to 135, is now 15 to 195. So a little bit more, again, for late game. And his R Dominus. The magic damage per second used to be 40 to 120 plus 10% of your AP, is now up by 10 at the first rank, up by 20 at the second rank, and up by 30 at the last rank. So it's 150 per tick at the last rank. All these 2 buffs here are just to make it easier for him in the late game and make him scale a bit easier, you know? Overall, really nice change. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy playing it. Although the early W nerf might be a bit tricky for some matchups. On to Ringar. Don't know why they're only doing it to monsters, but Rengar's W Battle Roar is losing about 20 damage at the rank here. So it's gone from 65 to 150 at levels 1 to 18. It's now 65 to 130 at 1 to 18. They also fixed a bug fix where you could hear the sound of the W through the Fog of War. Overall, again, Rengar is one of those champions that is always going to be broken or not broken. It just depends on either the game or the state of like the actual entirety of the game. So he'll be broken or not broken. Stop. Sorry about that. My cat's going after the humidifier. Shyvana W damage tick rate increased. Okay, so her W ticks every half second, but the damage remains the same. It just ticks more often. I assume to get stuff like Conqueror proccing faster, or things like Phase Rush. Her E Flame Breath. The area of effect zone from Shyvana's E now applies marks to enemies that enter the zone. Oh, okay. So in her dragon form, when she spits that damage at you, right? It provides that mark that goes over the head with the regular E, right? So that means she is going to have more valid forms of AD Shyvana where she can actually stick to you more, because again, those marks on the enemies prolong her W, and now she can proc that during her dragon form as well, even when she spits the E at them. This one thing is just a good buff to her as a champion entirely. Now the dreaded I run down your lane and there's nothing you can do about it time guy here. Yeah. Scion has been very oppressive for a while now, ever since Hullbreaker and his infinite health stacking. He's just been so hard to handle because he can build full damage while also being tanky. Now, when he's in his passive form, he's going to do 60% less damage to structures. And apparently it includes runes and items. So that means Demolish and Hullbreaker are both nerfed when he's in his death form. I mean, this is both good and bad. This is going to probably reduce the amount of in-tank Scion players you're going to get in your lobby. However, the main issue is the fact that he can scale so well with actual damage instead of just HP. There's no incentive to build HP when you could build full AD and two-shot anybody while also being tankier than them, right? It's the same issue that there is for like Graves. But this will 100% reduce the amount of people who play it. And unfortunately, it's going to hurt Baus's playstyle, but this is healthier for the game overall. Yeah. Now onto the Thresh buff. Apparently, he needs AP buffs. Don't know why it's AP, but I'll take it because I love my boy Thresh. His passive gives flat 1 AP and armor per soul now, and his W scales way better with it. So now your shield, it used to be 60 to 180 plus 1 per soul. Now it's plus 2 per soul. So it encourages you to collect your souls more often now, because the shield is going to be even larger. At the moment, when it's in late game, you can get something like a 200 shield. Now that 200 shield is going to be maybe a 300 shield or a 400 shield if you collect enough souls. It's going to be very good. It's going to be very good. Well, actually not 200 shield. I meant 300 to 400 now. Yeah, you know what I mean. Now onto Vara's. He's getting some passive and W changes. Okay, so his bonus attack speed on non-champion kills is getting buffed from 15% bonus attacks. So it used to be 10 to 20% plus 15% bonus attack speed. Now it's 10 to 20 plus 20% of bonus attack speed. And for on a kill on a champion used to be 40% plus 30% of your bonus attack speed. Now it's 40% plus 40. So it's a 10% buff on both parts. Now, when you kill a unit, right? And W Bladed Quiver, it used to be 7 to 21 seconds with 30% of your AP, and it's now 7 to 27. So it's a nerf on the W, but a buff on the passive to encourage attack speed Varus rather than lethality. Overall, that's good. It's going to help bring attack speed Varus back into the meta rather than him constantly going random like AP or lethality builds for no reason. Hullbreaker. I both loathe and like this item. I think the implementation is wrong. I still think an item like Banner of Command was better than Hullbreaker because 1, there's counterplay to it, and 2, there's a cooldown to it. Hullbreaker as an item itself is still really bad to play against. It does not feel rewarding to play with it. It just feels like easy mode. You lose lane and then you just buy this and you get free stats. It's kind of weird. I as much as like some champs that I play would use it, I do not think it is a good item. But that being said, champion bonus resist while hunting alone, it used to be 20 to 60 based on levels 1 to 18. It's now 10 based on levels 1 to 11, and then it's 20 to 75 based on levels 12 to 18. So it's a bit buffed when you're level 18, but they've severely nerfed it, so you can't just start with it again. Like, you can't just start the item instead of going for your mythic or other items, which is good. And for the ranged ones, again, it's halved. Same as always. I don't know. It's weird. And then Sturdier Hulls, the 20% bonus damage from all sources is now only 20% bonus damage from attacks. So that means auto attacks. Or buffed auto attacks like Yorick Q, Nasus Q, Camille Q, stuff like that. Msi Clash. Clash this patch is going to be based off of MSI. Yeah. As part of the MSI Clash, players who purchase a premium ticket during a clash are eligible for the following rewards. Players who place 1st through 5th will receive a random Legacy Conqueror skin permanent. And players who place 6th to 8th will receive a Conqueror Legacy skin shard. I might actually have to play Clash just to get a Conqueror skin. I'll take it. But yeah. A bunch of bug fixes. If you want to see what the bug fixes are, you can pause the video right now. Alright, bada bing, bada boom. The upcoming skins. Now, on the same day, May 12th, the High Noon skins come out. We have the High Noon Katarina, obviously the Leona skin, Varus and Talon, Mordekaiser, Prestige Talon, and the EDG skins. And obviously here are all their chromas as well. Alright, and now there is a Nami Vfx update. So you can obviously see that there is a little bit of changes. It's more... See, the issue I have with it is more green than blue. There's a lot of people who are getting mad about it. You have a more lakeish kind of color texture than ocean, from what I'm saying. Or you could consider it more coastline, right? Obviously, you can see here her heal is green. Although I think the heal is correct that it's green the way it is because it's a healing thing. But I feel like you could get away with, let's say, like a purple color for when it does damage, right? Or, like, see, the bubble here is very bluish. Well, you can't see the bubble. Now you can see the bubble right here. The bubble is more turquoise than blue, which I think is an issue. Shouldn't be like that. I think it just needs to be a deeper blue for a base, personally. See these changes. I've posted this in the Discord. You can join the Discord. I'm just saying. And it's a complete overhaul for base and custom color elements. And then there's also a Twisted Fate VFX update. Hold on, let me pause that. I need to pause. It's to make some of his effects more clear, obviously. The major change, though, is his R has this gigantic creepy eyeball thing above him now. This is going to make it more clear and better for the game overall to know when Twisted Fate is ulting. Because some people, like me, can't really see it that well. Weird one here. Pulsefire. I like this change. They added a gold ring around the Pulsefire one. Because people couldn't see it before. It would just be there and you wouldn't notice it because it would just blend. Now there's a gold ring around it to draw your attention to the fact that he's ulting, which is nice. Pretty good changes overall. What I would like to see, however, is just changes to basic character models, because you can see a lot of the champions like in Wild Rift. It's the same exact champion, same exact design, just the character model looks 10 times better. And obviously, because they're using a new engine, it's to be expected. But if we can do all of this with current technology, right, for this game, then why can't we do it to all of the base skins? Don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful that they're changing some of these VFX. It's very good for clarity and it's very good for longevity of the game. But a lot of skins and a lot of champions need an update. Where we can look at Malphite, for example. Yeah. Or say Ashe. Ashe base skin needs an entire overhaul, and a lot of her skins are so old you can't use them because they don't auto attack right, or the model is just horrendous. Things like Crime City Twitch as well. These things could benefit from an update, and I'm appreciative of Riot doing all of these things for it. But yeah, that'll be it for this patch notes rundown. If you want to see more of it, make sure to like and subscribe to the video, and I'll catch you again in the next one. Goodbye.